7 months since you left Barrabas in Nome, Alaska, and you're about to return to the final leg of your north-south circumnavigation. How are you feeling about that?
Apprehensive, in a word. It's difficult having been away for such a long time, even though the time since I've come back from Alaska has passed very quickly. It's been filled with a lot of tasks that needed to be achieved. But now it's getting to the stage where it's fairly imminent. I'm due to fly back in about 3 weeks' time, and I'm getting a bit nervous. There's always the danger that you've got out of the swing of things, and so it seems to me quite distant at the moment. But I'm sure once I'm back with the boat, everything will click into place.
Have you missed being at sea after spending 10 months alone on the first stage of the trip?
Yes, I have. But it's been countered to a great extent by the fact that I've been with the children, and which is at the end of the day much more important. I think I've been able to successfully separate the two in my mind.
How have you spent the winter?
Well, there were several things I wanted to achieve. Primarily, I needed to get my fitness back, because having been on the boat for so long, you get a certain type of fitness and lose another type of endurance fitness, and I needed to build that up, which I've done. Also, I had to reapply to the Russian authorities for permissions to transit the Northern Sea route, because the permissions I ultimately gained in 2006 do not carry to 2007, and that proved, as previously, to be, an involved process, but ultimately was successful.
You've had the option of going either the Northeast Passage or the Northwest Passage, and I know you've been debating the merits of both. Have you made a final decision?
I haven't made a final decision, because the final decision ultimately will be made for me by ice conditions. It may very well be that one way is blocked, as is often the case when one side is open, the other side tends to be blocked. My preference is to go the Russian route, because the distance that I'll be in ice-covered waters is significantly less, and technically it's not as tricky as the Canadian Northwest Passage. But as I said, at the moment the ice is sort of opening up and then closing up on the Russian side, whereas the Canadian side is looking as if it's opening ahead of this time last year, when it did ultimately clear completely in late August. So the decision will be made for me.
You've never sailed in ice before. How have you researched the problems you're likely to encounter?
I've done the best thing that I thought was the best thing, other short of actually doing it myself, was to talk to people who have been up there. And I've had long dialogues with two yachtsmen, Eric Brossier, a Frenchman who's been through the Northern Sea route and the Northwest Passage on his boat Vagabond, and a Dutch yachtsman called Henk de Velde, who's been through on Campina in 2003-04. And so, they've given me advice. They did have similar boats to me, particularly Henk, although he did get caught in the end. But also there's very good facilities on the internet, almost real-life imaging and so on, that I've been tracking the ice and taking advice from the Russian authorities, and the Canadian Ice Service as well have been very helpful.
Did they sail single-handed though?
No one's ever done it single-handed. I mean, single-handed people, I think two have been through the Northwest Passage, but no one's ever done single-handed along the Northern Sea route. Sleep is the real issue, but it's the sort of problem that one can entertain, but I don't think I'm going to find a solution to it until I'm actually engaged in sailing the route. I mean, and it really depends on prevailing conditions at the time. I mean, if I've got clear water, very light or no winds, then I can always just drop the hook, because I'll be quite close to shore and sleep. But I think I'm going to have to get into a pattern that racers get into of getting my head down for 15 or 20 minutes every 3-4 hours and do it that way, which will be difficult.
Of course, Barrabas isn't especially ice strengthened, is she? So you've got to be very cautious.
She's not specifically ice strengthened. She is very strong, which is why I selected her with this final phase in mind. But yeah, you're correct. She's not double-skinned. She's not reinforced at the bow. Although, as I said, she's pretty strong. But I can't go piling into the ice at 6 or 7 knots. That would be a seriously bad idea. So I do have to take it slowly.
And I guess for a lot of this passage, you won't be sailing. You'll be motoring.
Correct, yeah. During the high Arctic, I mean, the big gales do occur up there, but during the high Arctic summer period, July, August, winds tend to be quite light. They tend to be from the northeast, so they will be on my starboard quarter, coming from behind, if I go the Russian way. Yeah, so I will be under engine a lot of the time, and also when you're in close ice conditions, then obviously trying to manoeuvre with sail is going to be impossible. So I will have to have the engine running at least to be able to get the manoeuvrability.
Does it worry you being so reliant on an engine? How good a mechanic are you?
It does worry me, and it worries me principally because I've only got the one engine. So I've got a Lombardini on the boat, and I've been down to the specialist in Southampton, and their chief mechanic. I spent the day with him, and we were just going through the entire engine, and I was firing troubleshooting problems, even to the point where my big problem is that if I lose the electrics, how do I start the engine? And he did demonstrate a way to get the engine fired up using a standalone battery and some bits of wire. So little tricks like that I think are going to be helpful.
You must have to carry a huge amount of fuel.
I'll be carrying 2,500 litres, 2,500 litres, 500 in split between the tanks, 2 tanks on the boat, and 2,000 litres split between 100 20-litre jerry cans. And when I was filling the tanks in Nome when I was there before, it was an endless line, and I did think, how the hell am I going to get all this stuff on the boat? But I did. But everything is covered. More or less every surface in the boat is covered, plus quite a lot of the deck surface as well. So I've got enough room for one saloon berth to sleep on, a small clear area around the chart table, and around the heads as well. But the other danger of the fuel is that the combined weight of the fuel plus the water I'll be carrying is some 6,000 pounds, which means the boat's very, very low in the water, and in a big sea would be pretty unstable. So I'm going to have to pick my windows to get across the Bering Strait, where the currents can run quite high, very carefully. But of course, as I go, I'll be burning the fuel and lightening the loads.
What are the key points in the passage? The bits that worry you most, or is it all equally difficult?
No, it's not. It's not all equally difficult. There are 2 points. We're talking about the Russian Northern Sea route here. There are 2 points. One is called Proliv Dmitry Lapteva. Proliv meaning strait, and there's a group of islands about a third of the way along, going from the east to the west. That can become icebound because there's an eastward moving current, so loose ice flows tend to block the small straits. The second one is called Proliv Vilkitskogo, which is more or less halfway along the North Russian coast. That is most likely to be the danger area where the strait can get blocked. I'm pretty confident that I can get there, and if I can get through that 30-mile strait, I will have clear water home.
You're about to leave, you're about to go to Nome and do this final stage of what will be a unique voyage.
And what's the hardest part of leaving home and heading back to the expedition?
I think the hardest part is dealing with the apprehension. Interestingly, I'm not going to say the hardest part is leaving the children, which it was before, and the reason for that is I knew that I was going to be away for the fat end of a year, whereas this time, if it all goes well, I'll be away for no more than 2.5 months. So I'm not too worried about that. It's dealing with the apprehension, and the closer I get to the goal, every mile under the keel is a mile closer to home, and the closer I get, the more difficult it's going to be to deal with not making it. And I think it's that, to have fought so hard and so long for that prize, and for it to be coming closer and closer and closer, I'm going to be very nervous until I actually get back into the Solent.
Have you allowed yourself to think about that return to the Solent, or are you blocking that one out?
No, I haven't. I mean, it inevitably filters into my mind, but as soon as it does, I tend to dismiss it because I can't be thinking about that. I'm thinking very much in the moment and about the immediate problems of preparing the boat and getting it ready, looking at what the ice is doing, making the final decision as to whether I go left or right, and then once I've committed to the route, actually going on a day-by-day, hour-by-hour basis to get through the next 100 meters, the next 100 meters, the next mile, until I'm clear of the ice.
Well, Adrian, we'll be following every step of the way, we hope. We'll be talking to you a lot by satellite phone, and certainly our hopes and our thoughts will be with you the whole way, and we look forward to seeing you sailing back into the Solent.
Well, thank you. I hope that I can bring the prize back for Britain.